Hey there, hi there. It is Fox 6 Sports Blitz time. Brandon Cruz, Tim Van Vorn, Lily Zhao. The curtain is closing on the Packers season. We thought maybe we'd be talking about different stuff here tonight, but that's what's on tap. Here is our starting lineup. The season is over. And is the coaching tenure of Matt LaFleur headed the same way? Somehow, some Packers pants have us saying what? Giannis Antetokounmpo direct in depositing his chips with the Bucks, and hello, LeBron James. Plus, we have a high school hotshot who's rolling toward more success in his illustrious prep career. We're going to take apart last night's Packers loss to the Chicago Bears, but let's hear from Quay Walker in the locker room.
We didn't execute, and that's been a problem for us. Honestly, just finishing game, putting guys away. Even before I got here, I feel like that's always been a part of this organization. When it comes down to big games, like finishing the games, whether you start out strong in the first half, it comes down to can you finish. Nobody cares what you did in the first half. It just comes down to when the fourth quarter hit, double zeros or whatever the case may be, like we have more points to them, and that hasn't been the case at all, honestly.
We don't hear from Quay Walker all that often. We hear from him there, and what an indictment, if you ask me. I mean, he's talking about what's going on in Green Bay before he even gets there. Let's watch the Packers walk off the field. What expression do you think you're going to see on the faces here? I think the pictures do tell the story here. Lily Zhao, you were there in Chicago last night. How different is this from previous Packers season exits?
I think it's tough. You know, it's a game again where they should have won. And I think they knew that. Outside of all the injuries this year, this is a game they should have won. They had it, they let it go. But that's kind of been the theme this season for the Packers. In the losses this year, they had the game in their hands and they fumbled and bumbled and gave it away. Unfortunately, now they don't have a chance of redemption. This is it. This has ended their season. Guys dejected. It is what it is. And the worst part is it happens to your rival, the Bears, who are now moving on to the divisional round. And so it's tough. You see Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, guys that know they should be playing next week, but because of how they didn't finish, that's not the case. And
you can go back through the season. Maybe if they had won more games, they would have been the division champions and played at home and all that stuff. A lot of dominoes. It all fits together. Brandon Cruz, your chance. I mean, your chance. Here you go. What do you have on it?
I just think that you look at a team right there that didn't believe after the fact. I mean, they thought going into halftime, they've got this lead, and they didn't have to come out with the same intensity. And that was the problem throughout this season, and especially throughout the month of December. And it was on full display last night when they go out offensively and have 4 straight punts. 3 of those 4 series were 3 and outs. They just had nothing on offense, and then defensively, they were there in the third quarter. It was still just 21-9 going to the fourth, but by the fourth quarter, the defense then started to fall off, and I think a lot of that had to do with being on the field for so long, and a lot of it was the fact that the pressure just kept building, and they couldn't handle it.
All right, let's hear from Matt LaFleur when asked about what he wants to see going in the future, and then we'll look at LaFleur and talk at LaFleur. Okay, here you go.
Of course. I mean, this is one of one. I love this place. I love the people. As much as you guys drive me nuts sometimes, I love you guys. I love our players, the locker room, everybody in our organization. I mean, this is a unique place.
A lot of truths there from Matt LaFleur. Not sure about loving the media, but a lot of truths there from Matt LaFleur. Okay, yes, no, maybe so. Matt LaFleur back in Green Bay. Lily.
Maybe so. Again, I think we've talked about it is going in, I didn't think that a win or loss would have meant LaFleur is out the door. I thought he had a job cemented, an extension cemented anyway, just from, reports this week and kind of being around the organization. But now you do wonder, is it an indictment that Matt LaFleur-led teams have not had success in the postseason in the last 6-7 years? They've won a couple of games, and that is it. There's no Super Bowl to show for it. But again, the overriding theme is his teams haven't found a way to overcome adversity. They haven't found a way to punch back in the fourth quarter, and that's really just kind of been the theme of his team. So does Ed Policy want some new flavor at the position? If he does, the question is, who do you bring in? So I think it's a big what if Matt LaFleur's back next year.
So maybe so for you.
Maybe so.
Yes, no, maybe so.
I don't think so. I think he's probably out. And I think to ducktail off of what Lily had to say, his ride and tenure has been emblematic of a team that can't push it. They can't extend leads. They can't hold them. And to me, when you see a team that you can just put out of its misery right away, none of his teams know how to step on the other team. They always seem to get back into these games. No matter how big the lead or how important the moment, the opposing team finds a way to get back into games against Matt LaFleur's teams, and more often than not, his teams have lost those critical games. And I think when you look at his body of work, he's a great mind, but he doesn't have the killer instinct, or he doesn't have the ability to give his team the killer instinct when it matters.
I don't think the Packers want to fire Matt LaFleur. I don't think the Packers are really prepared to fire Matt LaFleur. I think going into last night's game, they had not done necessary due diligence on what they're going to do if they were going to make a move on from Matt LaFleur. But I would say this, going into the season, prior to the acquisition of Micah Parsons, starting the season, I think Matt LaFleur would have agreed with the sentiment that if you don't win a first-round playoff game, you're in trouble. And I think the Packers believed at that point that they would do that. Last night they lost in the first round of the playoffs again. I think Matt LaFleur is in trouble. Whether Ed Policy pulls that trigger or not, to me, it remains to be seen. But I just don't think you can argue past that point, even prior to the acquisition of Micah Parsons. I think Matt LaFleur would have agreed with that sentiment at the start of the season. So we shall see. It could be a very interesting week in Green Bay. What about this Packers-Bears rivalry? Ben Johnson, and guess what? The Bears have arrived. They are here. They're going to be around, and the way that they kind of shook hands or didn't at the end of last night's game tells you a lot.
Yeah, there's no love lost between these two organizations, between Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. You know that Ben Johnson, his post-game comments were he doesn't like the Packers. I'll put that in so many words. He does not like the Green Bay Packers. He made it very vocal. He said after the game there was a lot of noise up north from, he says the Green Bay Packers, and his team responded accordingly with how they played on the field. But you can see with that handshake, and again, if Matt LaFleur's back next year, probably more salty handshakes to come.
Well, I think that's part of the issue here. You're talking about the future. The Bears are here. We know what the Lions are about. And this is something that it's going to be hard to write this from a Packers standpoint going into next year in terms of being fired up like, here we go, we're after you.
Yeah, and now you like you said, this had been for so long the Packers division, and then up came the Lions in recent years, and like you just said, the Bears are here now, and the Bears have grabbed a hold of this division, and they're very young, and they have a very young, fiery coach who's not worried about making friends. All he's worried about is killing the opponent, something we haven't seen with the Packers. And to me, that's what's been amazing about this Bears team, led by Ben Johnson as the coach and led by Caleb Williams. Fourth quarter deficits don't matter. They know how to put a team out, and that is something that is very impressive that these other teams have to figure out.
Okay, we could very easily be having an entirely different conversation tonight if Brandon McManus makes one or two of those kicks. Lily, now, I mean, we thought the kicker situation in Green Bay was answered. Here you go, a game that it can be attributed to special teams, but my goodness, you can't. It's not coaching on Brandon McManus.
No, it's not. It's just the operation. You have to know how to kick a field goal. That's what it comes down to. But it just seems like every time the Packers are in the postseason, they have some sort of crazy special team snafu. And unfortunately, 7 points left on the field by Brandon McManus. You can talk about, okay, you miss a 55-yard field goal, but you miss an extra point. That means the Packers don't have a chance to tie. They have to score a touchdown late in the game. You miss a 44-yard field goal. Now we're talking about it's a very different dynamic when you can't trust your kicker and when he misses kicks that he normally makes. We've seen how steady he can be. So in the biggest moment, he couldn't come through, and he cost his team 7 points.
The margin for error is so slim in the NFL, and legacies, livelihoods, futures depend on something like that kick drifting to the right, Brandon. It's phenomenal how much could come down to simple plays.
Well, and you look at the league now with kickers. I mean, you have guys kicking 67-yard field goals, 55-yard field goals like he missed are just commonplace. Nobody misses those really anymore. That is a kick expected to be made, and he didn't do it. And if you really just break it all down for all of his mistakes yesterday, if he just makes the extra point, then the Packers are at least in a position to tie the game late instead of having to throw it into the end zone and hope for a Hail Mary. Instead, it was the Hail Mary that went down to the ground.
And on our pregame special on Fox Local, we said Brandon McManus is an asset. He's a strength for the Packers, right? I mean, so you didn't see it coming, and then that's the way it goes last night. So very interesting week. Again, I underscore that coming up in Green Bay. This past week, the Packers lost a top personnel executive under Brian Gutekunst, Vice President of Player Personnel John Eric Sullivan. He is now Miami's new general manager. they're getting a great guy, no doubt about that. He's been with the Packers for more than 2 decades. He's been in his current position since 2022. John Eric Sullivan on the job, looking for a new coach in South Florida and trying to turn around the Dolphins' futures. We'll turn around with more on the Fox 6 Sports Blitz, and you know what? We're not done talking Packers either.
What is it when you're the lead of the parade? What do they call you?
Isthmus.
Antsiness or whatever the word is.
You know, I never knew that. You learn something new every day.
Those are attention-grabbing pants, Josh. Do you have a story with those?
No, I just went in and looted the pro shop one day. These are my fun Friday pants, though. I know it's a Thursday, but short week, so.
The equivalent of a Friday.
That's right.
And definitely fun, for sure.
How much fun was he having?
Well, he went in there to buy a Luke Musgrave jersey. And that's what it came out with.
That's awesome.
And then Luke Musgrave said those pants were disgraceful. So they were having fun.
Do not sully my name with those pants.
But then you play the game and nobody was having fun.
Yeah, exactly. And now we talk about the future. We've already really discussed what we think may or may not happen with Matt LaFleur. But his defensive coordinator's name has surfaced a lot. He does have interest at least to get interviews this week, Tim. How big of a chance is there that he leaves the organization for a head coaching job?
Well, speaking about Jeff Hafley, and clearly his coaching chances took to take a hit last night, I would think. I mean, my goodness, the fourth quarter defense for the Packers goes awry. He's going to handle himself very well in an interview situation. He has a body of work he can rest upon. But I think other defensive coordinators are ahead of him, to be honest with you right now.
Lily, do you see a team trying to maybe pull him in and say, you know what, we like what you can bring. Yes, you've been a head coach at the college level, but we think you can turn this team into something?
Maybe Miami, a guy named John Eric Sullivan, potentially bringing Jeff Hafley to Miami. I think that could be a situation. But yeah, I definitely do. I mean, again, Matt LaFleur talking today, he seems kind of convinced that Jeff Hafley, will interview well, which we all think he will, and he will land somewhere else. So that was kind of the sentiment I got from Matt LaFleur today, that Jeff Hafley might not be here next season, but I think he will really pique some interest for sure.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what other coordinators are no longer with this team if Matt LaFleur stays, because obviously some changes could be happening there. Now, speaking of the players, Lily, you were in the locker room last night. Romeo Doubs seemed to be pretty emotional after this, and it didn't seem to be only because of the loss.
Yeah, he was sitting in his locker, really reflecting and just taking some time, and you could just kind of see the look on his face that he might know that this probably was the last game he has played in a green and gold uniform. He is a guy that will command money on the open market. Last year in his rookie contract, and the Packers have their wide receivers in-house next year with Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, and Jaden Reed. So where does that leave Romeo Doubs? I think that leaves him going to another team and getting paid there. I don't think the Packers can afford to keep him, but I think, he is a guy that has cemented himself as being a really good wide receiver. But just based off of what he was saying in the locker room and how he was commanding himself and the look on his face, I think he kind of realized his time in Titletown is done.
Earlier, we heard from Quay Walker. Is he going to be here? And what do you think his chances are abroad if he doesn't?
It may depend on the coordinator, to be honest with you. Now, the Packers talked all year about, we're interested in Quay, but they never ponied up for Quay. And it may depend exactly on who the defensive coordinator is, what kind of defensive scheme they're going to run. Doubs certainly went out on a high note in his last game. Quay Walker had a pretty good, if this was his final game, pretty good showing against the Bears. I think his situation is murky, to be honest with you. I think you can make a case either way.
What about Malik Willis? Is he staying back up, or does he have a job somewhere else next year?
I think he's starting somewhere else in the NFL next year. I think people in Green Bay will certainly miss Mr. Malik Willis, but he has earned his shot. He's earned his money, and he will be a starting quarterback next year. And I think, the Packers have Desmond Ridder in the system now, so he'll likely be the backup, I think. But Malik Willis head next year, or elsewhere next year, to be a starting quarterback, and good for him.
Inconsistency along the offensive line this year for health reasons, but also for mistakes being made at times. What about Rasheed Walker? Does he stick around, and does he solidify his spot on this offensive line?
My expectation is that he would be out on the market. The Packers have a lot of offensive linemen. Just Jordan Morgan was a first-round draft choice to play left tackle. Whether you believe in him or not, there's money there. They're tied up in him. I would think that Rasheed Walker will be looking elsewhere, and will find interest elsewhere, certainly.
And like every point of the season, when it ends, we know that is the last time we see that group together. We know there will be plenty of changes with the Packers, but it's going to be interesting this time to see if it's all the way at the top and how much of that trickles down and affects the guys underneath there. So we'll see what happens. A lot could happen this week with the Green Bay Packers, even though their season is over. Well, switching gears, the Bucs continue to be inconsistent. They were on a 4-game road trip that just wrapped up at 2-2 by losing tonight to the Nuggets, but they do get a big win against the Lakers. Giannis outdueling LeBron James. The two even hug after the game. Giannis would get a signed LeBron jersey, which apparently he even put on in the locker room. It could be the last time these two ever face each other on the court. And the Badgers going to Ann Arbor this weekend in shock. Previously undefeated Michigan. Bucky trailed by as many as 14 in the game, before scoring 54 in the final 20 minutes. They knock off the second-ranked team in the country with John Blackwell leading the way with 25 points. The Badgers up and coming just a week after I said they had a lot of improvement to be made after losing to Purdue.
To you.
Yeah.
That's right. And congratulations, Panthers head coach Bart Lundy. He gets his 500th career win today as a head coach. Good for him. He's been a very good friend of this show. We wish him well, and 500 more maybe. We'll be right back with our high school hotshot.
Welcome back. At a young age, his competitive drive needed a new direction, but that did not stop this athlete from pushing toward gold medals and state records. Here's this week's Fox 6 High School hotshot.
What up, everybody? I am G, also known as Gianni Quintero. I go to Marquette High School, senior this year, and I am a two-sport athlete with wheelchair basketball and wheelchair track. Even before I was disabled, I was a baseball player, little league player, loved sports. By the time of paralysis, athletic kid, competitive, so first outlet was basketball. Chair gets banged up, bottom of my chair is all scraped up. I've got dents and nicks in my wheel. It's like what Toe Mater says in Cars. Every dent, tells a story, right? It gets competitive. I didn't completely start track until freshman year of high school. Somebody told me, they were like, you're pretty fast. You should try this sport out. It utilizes what you do best. I went in there not knowing who my track coach would be. And it ended up being my freshman year biology teacher. He sees track as a science. He started using physics and applied sciences and a bunch of things like that kind of opened up a world full of possibilities for what I could do with this chair. And for track, it's like a long Formula One car. The biggest thing is you're competing against yourself. It's kind of like Mario Kart when you're racing the ghost that of your best lap. It's exactly what I'm doing. I'm racing my own time. My hope is to play both sports in college. Athletics, really big in my world. I don't know what I'd do without them. My name is Gianni Quintero. I am a senior Marquette High School, and I am part of the Wisconsin Adaptive Sports Association, aka Wausau basketball team. And I am this week's Fox 6 High School hotshot.
What an inspiration. Gianni has dreams of making the U.S. Paralympics team as well, but for now, he and his basketball teammates are prepping for the Big Cheese tournament next weekend at Pewaukee High School. That's awesome. We'll be right back.
Packers passport, that's John Dunn right there, the Packers tight ends coach. He was Bears assistant for a few years. He was also a graduate assistant at North Carolina when they had a walk-on quarterback named Ben Johnson.
Oh. See what you did there.
All right, you probably have opinions about the last game of the year or this season in general, as seen by TVV. Your questions, your comments, your opinions, we'll take them all. QR code, have the last one of the season coming up tomorrow. How interesting do you think this week will be? 1 to 10 scale. What's your number?
I'm going 9.
9.
Ooh, I'm going to go 7.
7. All right. That's pretty juicy. Week after a regular season finale and playoff loss. We'll be back with you next Sunday night to cap it all off. Appreciate you joining us tonight. See you.